I've entered the area of which things must occur. A dream comes to me, and I see. Finally, I see. I'm Van Lee of the Bootu Boys. Guess what? We're doing a podcast. And by we, I mean Brian Vaughn.
I speak into the microphone, which is a device that captures the recorded sound of mine own voice.
I thought I'd come up with a C pun for Spencer, but I couldn't. Spencer Hendricks.
Yep, I want to talk to you guys about this thing. I've been having the same dream every night.
What's in it?
Oh, it's a dolphin, and I think he's carrying something.
Okay, this is really weird.
Spooky stuff. Also, Pincer Hendricks, like a crab pincer.
Okay.
Also, his name has a C in it.
Nope, I can't think of anything for Brian. Brian?
Yeah, I've actually used that before.
I used it better.
I've signed emails that way at work.
Oh, nice.
Not this current work.
We are talking about the sea, and we are talking cryptically because the two things will merge on today's episode. SeaQuest DSV, television show from the 90s. I don't think I said the year, but it was 1993 to 5, I believe. Anyway.
Just think about when Aerosmith was popular.
And you'll know, speaking of Aerosmith, you might want to go check out patreon.com/Bootu Inc. where we talk about Aerosmith. That's right, the Bootu Boys finally did it. We finally sat down and talked about Aerosmith.
Was I wearing a scarf or two when we did it? Yes.
Maybe.
And fingerless gloves and sunglasses. It's all free. Go check it out. But today, we've also got William Shatner joining us on the show. Not really, but in SeaQuest form because he is our guest star. And it has been 75 episodes since we last saw him, I think.
It's about that. I recently, for recaps for YouTube, I recently re-listened to those episodes, and we really praised William Shatner's early performance in a landmark Twilight Zone episode, which this episode of SeaQuest DSV entitled Hide and Seek, I'm not sure if it's historically revered in quite the same way.
Season 1, episode 18, by the way, Hide and Seek. We're going to find out if Shatner is just as good or better in this episode of SeaQuest DSV than he was in that Twilight Zone.
And what role the gremlin from that episode will play in SeaQuest DSV.
It's the guy who's trying to seduce Dr. Westphalen. That is, I mean, it's not an actor, so it must be a gremlin,
well,
right?
That's weird. I had him down as Old Gaudio.
That's an inside joke that I barely know.
Okay.
It was pretty good. All right, SeaQuest DSV. You guys want to get into this?
Yeah, I actually really want to, because to me, this one was more confusing.
I think confusing is a good word to describe the entirety of this episode. We'll find out if at the end of it, any of us have learned a lesson.
One question. Mm-hmm. This is how many episodes from our last one sequentially? 8. And did they actually cover things that were meant to be a cohesive overall story, or did they just kind of reset it each time?
No, there is an overarching story. It kind of sneaks in from time to time. By the end of the season, they find a lost alien civilization under the water. And then they have to show America to be ready for it. I don't know. But they also blow up the SeaQuest.
I just wondered how we got here in this episode.
We wandered right into this.
My main reason for asking that.
Did they ever solve the thing about spherical evolution?
Yeah, episode 12 did.
Okay,
sorry, we missed it. I didn't think it would be that important to cover, but
I figured that just got dropped.
If you want to, go check it out. No, come on, Spencer. A professional show like this with its budget, they wouldn't drop a plot. Anyway, Hide and Seek, Season 1, Episode 10. Before we start this episode, I want to give a little bit of a teaser, though. Over the coming weeks, the Bootu Boys will be engaging in a strange and different endeavor. I won't say any more than that, but if you hang around through the end of this episode, we will reveal what that strange and wonderful endeavor is going forward.
Yeah, perhaps a new technology has enabled us to do something we've never done before.
Like a regulator.
Or maybe that we did, but we can do it better.
Yeah, you'll find out.
Our episode of SeaQuest DSV begins with the titular sea vehicle scooting through the ocean, and it's apparently nighttime. As we then focus on America's grandpa, Captain Bridger, he's tossing and turning in his bed and making soft moaning sounds.
I was disappointed he didn't have one of those little sleeping caps.
He's a man that would wear a sleeping cap with a big ball at the end.
And the SeaQuest logo on it. I kind of like...
Well, now I want that.
Actually, I do too. I kind of like that everybody on the ship has a logo. It makes it, that'd be realistic.
Sure.
If you worked for this thing, you would have this.
And it would be cool.
I don't know that the logo would look like it was made in the 90s, but...
You bring up the other thought too. Now I want another scene with him because we agreed that he does a great job just because of his presence. I would like a whole scene of him slowly heating up a warm glass of milk, because he'd be one of those people.
Sure.
In his sleeping cap. And just kind of, that's his nighttime ritual in his pajamas. I want to see the whole thing before he goes to sleep.
And maybe while he's standing there by himself, he just kind of nods and goes, it's going to be a cold one.
To no one.
Yeah. He's just doing old man stuff. I actually think that's a better show.
I do too. And I want to see it really badly. I didn't know how badly I did.
Well, then when he falls asleep, you see a feather go, and then flutter back down.
He actually does honk shoe.
Yeah, yeah.
Why am I so intrigued by this? I want it to happen.
And then, of course, at midnight, he has to get up and pee because of the warm glass of milk.
Well, in like 5, he's on the phone with his eldest daughter talking about how things have been different since Helen died.
Well, he wakes up kind of in an annoyed manner, and he grabs a nearby dream diary that Roy Scheider definitely has, and he turns it to a blank page. And by the way, the page before it was full. He had filled it with dreams.
Hey, he's full of nothing but dreams.
And he writes down in his dream diary, dream number 3, Darwin is carrying something. And he's writing all this down in cursive, which is why it's taking a little bit longer. And also, I don't think people use cursive anymore.
No.
Do you think anyone in the last 15 years?
The whole idea of cursive is to write something worse but faster. And I think we could just write sloppier or type.
But for some reason, the signature part of it has stuck. They're like, if you need to sign your name, it's got to be cursive.
I do think worse but faster kind of works for a signature.
And plus, it gives you that chance to make it like your signature flourish.
Hard to fake.
Exactly. Can't forge that.
I really enjoy doing mine correctly when I do it correctly.
When I try, I find that something in my brain won't allow it. So I end up messing up one of the letters at the end. It just doesn't, I don't want to do it. My hands don't want that fine movements necessary for little individual cursive letters.
Do you think it's more psychological, like the Mona Lisa, where a slight imperfection makes the thing perfect?
We need to go through everything I've signed and see if it looks different in every single document.
Let's get through all of your paperwork.
And by the way, this is not an old man rant that I'm going on. I don't care about cursive. Great if it's there, great if it's not. Who cares?
Roy Scheider would be doing that in this show where he's an old man.
Hey, these damn kids, these regulators can't write their names in cursive. This dolphin can't even write his name.
All the holograms are playing 80s hair metal.
I also like the idea of the kids like bringing it back. Damn kids in their cursive.
All the kids want to listen to Megadeth and write in cursive.
That's the second Megadeth you've done during SeaQuest DSV.
That guy looked
week.
like Dave Mustaine, the guy in the hologram.
He did. All right. Anyway, Bridger tosses away his dream diary and he snuggles back up with his pillow saying, Darwin, what are you trying to do to me?
Could either one of you wake up and actually write a dream down and then go right back to sleep?
No, it would be...
I'd be awake for 3 hours.
It would be the old Seinfeld premise of like, I might jot something down and not be able to read it, or if I could, not make sense of it.
Yeah, if you wake up enough to write that clearly, you're not going back to bed that fast. That's all I'm thinking.
Because a lot of the dreams I do have, and I'm like, I wish I'd remember this. There are some that I've put in my phone, and then when I read them, I'm like, this is stupid and not even interesting. It's like, oh, I went into the store and the hat was so big, it swallowed me up.
You know what, guys? Fine. We're going to do this now. I have a notepad app on my phone that I do this with. And it's not necessarily dreams, but if I get too high, one might say, I'll write things down so I can remember it the following day. Let's just take a look and see what's in here.
Sure.
Okay, here we go. Walton's fake things. One of the kids gets stuck in a jug. John Boy has to win a fiddle contest against the devil in disguise or they lose the farm. Some sort of sailor subplot. Town hole digging contest. Those are my notes for the Waltons.
These are just all Walton's fake things. Okay.
We have Alf learns his long-lost Uncle Gary has crash-landed on Earth 10 years prior and has been living with an Earth family called the Turners.
I'm starting to see.
That's my idea.
I'm starting to see how you come up with all these lists. You do it when you're high. You just write them down there and use them later.
Okay, here we go. Science fiction story idea. Was I high when I wrote this? Yeah. World where men must telepathically share their true selves and identities upon committing to have sex with a woman.
Oh.
You see the point, though. The intimacy,
I get it.
You're risking more of something. But it's obviously the idea that, like, a 14-year-old might have when drinking.
How about this one? Teens peer pressure Santa into giving them all the gifts by calling him a slur, which really bothers him.
A lot of controversy in that one.
Well, how about this one? Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator NFT.
I'm in. I'm going to go ahead and invest.
This is just something that I noticed at work in the Slack channel because a woman was posting pictures of her new baby and multiple men replied with, "Don't show that to my wife." What is that?
Wait, is that real?
Yes.
What?
Do you guys know what I'm talking about? No. Like a woman has a baby and then a man who knows this woman or whatever is like, "Don't show it to my wife. She'll be raring to have one herself."
Oh, I see.
It's this old-timey and something that I thought would have died on like 50 sitcoms. And last year, according to my notes app, 2 men at work did this in our Slack channel.
A little weird.
"Oh, my wife, if she catches sight of a baby, she's like, pull your pants off." It's weird.
Also, and I don't want one. Is I guess what he's getting at there is
I've been dodging it. I'm just hoping we'll both be barren before long.
All right, I got one last one for you, and then we'll get back to SeaQuest DSV. This one comes circa March 7th, 2022. It's a few years old. It says, Frodo looks in the mirror and sees something that really upsets him.
That's it?
That's it. That's my brilliant idea.
Well, I think you could pull that off, yeah.
I think that's what happened. Didn't he see himself with Galadriel or something?
He just saw a lot of things that upset him.
Well, I also have one that says 5 3/4-inch duct tape.
That's something you just needed.
Okay, SeaQuest DSV, Dream Journals. Roy Scheider has one. He drifts back off to sleep. He writes down his little note.
Instantly.
He snores and that feather goes up and down. And I did not know this, but apparently dolphins have the ability to enter a person's dreams much like Freddy Krueger does.
Yeah.
But the thing is if dolphins knew how to do that, we'd be fucked as a species.
Every night they 1, 2, Darwin's coming for you.
Hey.
Bitch.
We're in dreamland now, and it's black and white. That's how we know we're in dreamland. And we see things like Darwin's tank, a couple of hallways, and then suddenly a mysterious pan flute begins to play. And it's not the last time we get a pan flute in this episode. Darwin himself is here, and he's superimposed over the hallway scene as if he's walking through it like a man and not swimming through it like a dolphin.
And this is pretty funny, objectively.
But this is not Bridger's dream. We come to find out, oh no. Instead, we find Lieutenant Timothy O'Neill, a.k.a. Joxer, from Xena Warrior Princess. He's passed out at his workstation. He's on the job, got his chin on his fist, and he is dreaming of Darwin. He snores with his head on his hand, and he keeps murmuring, Darwin, to himself, when his friend Censor Chief Miguel Ortiz comes over to wake him. And I didn't really talk about Ortiz when I did the cast stuff, because we really didn't get a whole lot of him. And then, like, the third time I watched this through, I thought, I guess we did get quite a bit of him. But he's played by Marco Sanchez. And here he is, softly waking up Joxer from his glorious sleep. Joxer thanks him and says, "You're right, Ortiz. I was real deep into it there, having a little bit of a dream."
What about, though? What was he dreaming about?
Not the same thing they were.
No, don't ask me about it. Why is Joxer...
He's so against explaining he has had this dream.
It's a little doth protest too much. Like, is he really into dolphins or something?
Because Ortiz is like, oh yeah, you were dreaming of him, weren't you?
Yeah, and like everybody else admits it. You know, look, we're all dreaming about Darwin, buddy. You can admit it.
Nope, Joxer says, I do not admit it. He says, you know what, Censor Chief Miguel Ortiz, get back to your censor chiefing and leave me alone.
I mean, I'm okay with people that dream about Darwin. I don't do it.
And we find out Ortiz has been dreaming about Darwin as well. It's been all week. He knows he's not the only one, and Joxer here reveals it. But clearly you can tell that Joxer's been hearing about it all week and doesn't want anything to do with it. But then he goes, hey, wait a minute. Where is Darwin anyway? Just then they get a communique from the UEO. And again, for new listeners, that's the United Earth Oceans Organization, or
the UEO.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
UEO.
The Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's where you battle.
Animorphs.
Cards, I think. I don't know what that is, to be honest. Is that Naruto? Is that the same thing?
It could be.
Huh. The UEO, United Earth Ocean Organization, omitting the second O, they call him up. We've got a communique. Joxer makes a joke about how Secretary so-and-so probably lost his canoe. So, let's get this taken care of, huh? So-and-so had a canoe.
They're in the water.
And we're going to have to do it because it's cold and wet.
Joxer, he's always the comedic relief.
You know, he has two brothers in this show as well.
Yeah, they're evil.
Well, one's a little scary, but maybe not evil.
Voice is different.
Well, Joxer's wrong. This message is not about a lost canoe, Hitler's canoe, if it were Cotton Hill. It comes from what seems to be Ted Turner himself, who shows up. He's wearing a turtleneck. He's warning about an escaped dictator named Milos Teslov, who we get a nice big picture of. and it sure as shit is William Shatner cosplaying as Saddam Hussein.
With a sandy-ass mustache.
And a paunch that could rival Hussein's.
The guy's a physical square in this episode. William Shatner, since we last saw him, he has aged 1,000 years, and he is not really, just like, 30?
Which is still a lot.
Yeah, now he's like a 60-year-old man, essentially. But something else has happened to him, which is the same thing that happened to Al Pacino, where an eccentric style of acting eventually became very cartoonish.
They made a choice and decided, this is what I want to do, but then kept going and didn't stop for a while, and then they've gone too far, because it is weird what we're about to witness.
It's to where no line can come out of this guy's mouth that sounds
like a person
convincing.
Would say it.
He seems like a high school drama kid or something.
Oh, almost. Sure.
Because every single line, he's trying really hard at something.
Ted Turner tells us that Teslov is believed to have escaped via one of 2 helicopters, and thus I became confused, because why are we telling SeaQuest this when SeaQuest is in the sea, when helicopters are in the up sea?
That's a good point.
Not down here.
The sea of the sky.
Sky sea, yes.
Just there.
But nonetheless, everyone aboard the ship jumps into action, and they push whatever button happens to be nearest them. And by the way, this Ted Turner guy enunciates the fuck out of every word he says. Let's just listen.
This is to be considered an extremely lethal and dangerous situation.
Montgomery, rig
He is
for red.
believed to be traveling in one of 2 fugitive helicopters, attempting to elude identification using extreme and evasive tactics. Their destination is unknown. Repeat, destination unknown. We are ordering SeaQuest to intercept and incarcerate. UEO intelligence suggests they may be trying to reach a destination on or near the eastern coast of the United States. I repeat.
They keep that alarm going the whole time. I want him at the end to, when he runs out of the words, to just start doing that.
The destination is unknown.
It almost seems as if I could have shortened my statement by several hundred words.
You guys remember when we did the Fortune Fire skit video thing? And Spencer was the cop who arrests the old man who killed his wife, who was also played by Spencer.
Yeah, Elmer.
That's how you voice the cop. Attention! I am this cop, and I speak like this. The destination is unknown. Ortiz immediately locks onto the helicopters via what I assume is sonar, because they're under the water. That's where sonar lives.
It's also where knots are a unit of measurement.
With a K. How much is a knot? How much is a knot versus
5.
a kilometer?
It's just a flat 5. He wasn't even done asking the question yet. 5.
5.
And that's right, too.
Meanwhile, on Guy Trying to Get Laid Island, we find Dr. Westphalen. She's strapped into a hospital bed with some tubes and wires going everywhere. And apparently this is some kind of like virtual reality machine where she looks at a screen in front of her and is hooked into all these tubes, and it simulates swimming with dolphins.
Yeah, it's real skin to fin action.
It sure is. And of course, she sees dolphins on the screen. That's what she's looking at. But she's not running this machine herself. Oh no, there's another person here. And this guy is what I can only describe as an 80s man living in the 90s, but wishing it was still the 80s.
He's a troll doll looking guy.
He really is. He's got a big old head and a mullet just swallowing the head up.
Yeah, just a total mullet. And like he wears kind of billowing bowling shirts, and his face contains many features.
He's very charming, though. Don't forget about it.
Is that what that is?
He's very charming.
He tells a lot of jokes that if you were a teen, you would roll your eyes
Well,
at.
Dr. Westphalen said he was charming. I'm just going off what she said.
Well, she is some sort of weird sprite-like creature that says weird shit all the time. Like, I don't understand where she is at all. She speaks with a raspy voice.
These two and their little world here, because we're being first introduced to this on SeaQuest, or Spencer and I were. You may have been familiar with whatever this is. But I was really not sure where this was. I didn't know where we were, who these people were. Westphalen was in the last episode, and I was so disarmed by the fact that it looks like we're on a golf course with this guy, with this living troll doll. And then she's in a tanning bed talking about touching a dolphin virtually.
And he's hovering over her kind of menacingly.
Yeah, and I've already seen this lady touch real dolphins. I'm not really sure why she needs to be doing it virtually.
Well, he is apparently Malcolm Lansdowne, who's a scientist friend of Captain Bridger, who maintains a dolphin research facility. So he's this famous scientist.
So dolphins are a big part of every single fabric of this future of 2018.
Brian, it's the ocean. The dolphins are, of course, important to the ocean.
Well, they're not on the ocean. In the ocean, they're in Florida or something.
They're at Sandals Resort or whatever. From what I can gather, though, Lansdowne is trying to move in, of course, here on Bridger's girl, Dr. Westphalen. As of right now, he seems like he has the upper hand in sexing her up. This guy, by the way, is not an actor, and I mean that. This is a serious Van saying this guy's some producer that they decided can be on the show.
Could have fooled me.
His name is Robert Ingalls, and he makes a couple of appearances.
You know, he doesn't seem out of place as far as like a 90s character or actor on a network show.
What would you say he usually produces?
Garbage.
Farts. Just a certain discomfort.
He's a really good producer.
Just like a heavy mist that remains anytime he leaves.
He knows what he says on the business card. There's just, you don't leave a room feeling safe.
Oh, and by the way, he doesn't make an appearance ever on any other show again. This is it. This is his
no other show would be like, this is acceptable. Sure, we'll let him read lines. Like a lot of them.
Westphalen, she's here. She's talking about how great this VR dolphin thing that she's in is, and Lansdowne just keeps pawing at her and talking about how great it is. He leans in real close to her face and says virtual reality right into her mouth. And she closes her eyes to, so she could feel those fake dolphins. Again, like Brian said, she feels dolphins all the time. Darwin is in her everyday life. Why is this fascinating to her?
I don't understand. This is like me being like, I'm going to get a VR game of petting my cat.
Yeah, well, just pet the cat.
Yeah, my cat's right there.
He then tells her, this is only the beginning of what I've got to show you, which he has to mean his penis, which is shaped like his head, right?
Oh, I got to tell you guys, I can't get over this Malcolm Lansdowne fella.
Well, he's going to be here for a bit.
You can't get rid of him.
Lansdowne then takes this opportunity. Again, she has her eyes closed. She's dolphining, right?
She would have to have had her eyes closed.
Well, you often do that when you're around this guy. But he takes advantage of it, and he leans in to kiss her. But, oh no, something happens to stop. What do you guys think it is? I don't know, a cell phone going off? It's a helicopter firing a machine gun at their pool.
And right away, I'm on high alert because helicopters on Bootu Boy shows are usually very dangerous.
They're mean.
And they are here too.
Westphalen is so enraptured by this VR thing. She's got headphones on. She doesn't hear the bullets cascading around her. So the guy has to rip the headphones off so the two can hide under some patio furniture, which I seriously doubt has been built to withstand bullets.
No, and you can see straight through it.
It's plastic, Brian. It's not going to stop anything.
It's deck furniture, which is the same in 2018.
The future. She asks what's going on, and Lansdowne points out that, well, I've had some issues with the neighbors lately. He kind of gets his little old man joke in there. But the real answer steps into frame as the paunchy, mustachioed William Shatner wanders in front of the camera. He's got a gun, and he's looking around like he doesn't know how eyes work. Westphalen recognizes Shatner as Teslov, this evil dictator, and she and Lansdowne realize we're boned when Shatner catches sight of them. So they stand up, and Lansdowne says, well, if I'm going to die, I might as well stand up and die.
I don't know what the reasoning is there. The weird thing about this is
knees.
Shatner is kind of not seeing them. Do you guys know what I mean? Like, he's looking around, but not at them or through them even.
I'm not really sure what he was going for.
He says to himself, this is wrong. This is not the place I dreamed of, which are not words anyone would say in this situation. And after a Lansdowne quip, Shatner basically shows that he has made his character choice, and his character choice is to speak in cryptic riddles.
This is what people make fun of him for.
Absolutely, because he speaks in third person, and he says things like, I need to announce my entrances. I need to know if someone is there, someone waiting for me, someone to return fire. Then he stops, looks at Westphalen and Lansdowne and addresses him and says, is there anybody in the house? And Lansdowne goes, no. And he goes, keep these two safe. And that's it. That's the scene end. It's very, very weird.
Do you think any of this was ad-libbed? Because I think
a lot of it was.
It kind of has to be because the overarching like, I get what they're doing, but the words he's saying don't necessarily make sense. And he'll stop at places in sentences where you're like, well, where was he when he starts up again?
I think what it is they had a script and they had it all written out and they gave it to Shatner and he showed up doing this and everyone just went, well, it's William Shatner. This is what he does. People like him. Whatever. Let's stick with it. They didn't stop to think, should we do this?
Well, this seems very bad and stupid. Should we continue with it or should we tell him, listen, Bill, because I think, show business people call him that.
Yeah.
We need you to tone it down. We're up just somewhere else.
Well, it's intro time. And guess what we didn't do last episode? Discuss the intro sequence for SeaQuest DSV. We're going to do it here. There is a flash and the sound of horns of wonder, Spencer.
Wonder.
Not whimsy.
Not whimsy.
The SeaQuest DSV intro begins. It features a voiceover by Roy Scheider, and he's saying that in the 21st century, man has finally conquered the sea, which is pretty ironic since, we've already passed 2018, and we have not colonized the oceans, nor are we close to colonizing the oceans, and only James Cameron's been down there. It's the only one.
I think the phrasing even speaks to man's problem that we're trying to conquer the sea.
Well, Poseidon puts up a fight. You got to fight with his lieutenants, King Triton, Aquaman, a crab.
Sphere from Sphere by Michael Crichton.
That movie showed up on Plex. Did you put that on there?
Yeah, because I am going to watch it.
Didn't know they made that into a movie.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman, Samuel L. Jackson.
Wow.
It was apparently horrible. I remember when it came out and 12-year-old Brian was like, I'm going to see this fucking movie. And I remember being like, what?
I was really disappointed.
Yeah, you were very sad. Anyway, the intro, it's pretty standard for 1990s shows. It's not quite Family Matters where they walk and then they say their name and then they smile at the camera, but it has the same thing in that character's name and they're doing something.
Yeah, action shots.
Other than that, there are a bunch of sharks and stingrays, occasionally a car chase scene where it's actually a submarine. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Pretty middle of the road. Brian, what do you think?
What I do like about it is that if you told me to guess a year, I'd be like 1993.
You mean when Aerosmith was popular?
Yeah, I'd be like, man, this is crazy. This is amazing. I'm crying, though, because it is a little bit emotional by the end of it. The thing that also stands out is it kind of combines the action shot cast announcements with the voiceover having to explain the convoluted premise of the show. And that's like both 90s things.
Got to mush them together.
At the same time.
How far did you get before you quit watching, Spencer?
Oh, I tuned the whole thing out.
Returning from the intro, though, the SeaQuest High Council has arrived and arranged themselves. We have Captain Bridger, Lieutenant Krieg, Lieutenant Commander Hitchcock, Commander Ford, and Chief Crocker. They're all here. They're gathered around the TV to watch the William Shatner channel, and they're taking a look at video footage from when Tesloff was last in custody by the UEO, and he's got a lot to say.
Awake. Awake. Accident. Chance. Fate. They're all the same, aren't they? I have accepted that. I have accepted my ability to act, kill. If not me, it would be someone else. If you kill me, so what? I have killed millions of you. My religion is despair. That is where I worship. You only have to close your eyes to understand what is going to happen. Dream dreams. No matter how bewilderingly futile they may be, dream dreams. Dreams.
All right, shut it off. That's
Ford gets up and he says, hey, pretty fucking wild, huh, guys?
That's one thing. Do you guys see what I mean about this seeming theatery?
Yeah,
like someone trying
over
to
the top.
Like Rick Bodie reading Shakespeare.
Can a man understand? Ford continues to show archival footage of tanks and things blowing up and a bunch of maps. It's like 80-year-old watching the History Channel porn is what this is.
It's like he pulls up Encarta and just clicks play on that little short summary video.
We find out that Tesloff has been on the run for 6 months, all because he has committed mass genocide in his home country of Europe.
I did not expect it to be something that severe. I figured,
it's so nuts.
Didn't you think it was going to be like he's really a good guy and he's getting screwed? Because all these characters in these shows are like that. But no, this is an evil, horrible guy.
Or very worst, he stole money from his treasury. Like you wouldn't think he murdered millions.
Or he tried to put gills on an ape.
Everyone here surmises that his plan is to marshal an army to retaliate against the various government groups hunting him down. Ford seems particularly upset about Tetzlaff, and when Bridger asks why he's extra worked up, Ford says, his policy of ethnic cleansing, based on the color of a person's skin, that really gets to me, man.
Yeah.
The other killings, the murders, none of that bothers me. But you bring in racism to it? Too far.
What I am baffled by here is that Bridger, who is like, do not fucking deal with the regulator, is pretty cool with Tetzlaff. He's like, well, let's give the guy a chance, like one genocide. All right. That's on you.
Build Trenchtown. Fuck you, man. Ford hints that if somehow Tetzlaff finds his way onto the SeaQuest, that would never happen.
Finds his way. I like the phrasing too, because it is kind of like, I don't know, he might get on here, he might figure it out. He's kind of just a series of non sequiturs.
Ford says, I'm going to finish the job myself. I'll take him down. Bridger, however, is a man of honor and all that bullshit, so he opposes Ford's wanton attitude. Back at Lansdowne's house, Tetzlaff is pointing on a map with his thumb, and he's telling his evil plan to these two scientists that he just met. He explains that there's this stretch of water between Italy and Albania in the Adriatic Sea, which is very crucial to his war effort, since that's, of course, where his enemy stronghold is. But he has a plan to control this stretch of water. And in fact, he says, you know what? I'm going to put a spur in the boot of Italy, which I am pretty sure Shatner wrote and thought, yeah, I nailed it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's got a boot on it.
Because it looks like a boot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cowboy boot.
And then he probably took a little break to just be like, good job.
But what's truly brilliant is actually his overall plan to control the waterway. And lucky for him, he has wandered into the backyard of someone who could actually help enact that plan. So let's hear what he's got in store.
I shall control the straits with your dolphins. I shall return to power.
That's insane.
Yep.
Of course, I'm not telling you anything you haven't heard before.
The dolphins will guard the straits. Nothing shall pass through without my permission.
You can't train dolphins to do that.
In the war between the United States and Vietnam, dolphins were trained to hunt, to kill, to help the slaughter. A dart gun, a CO2 cartridge, strapped to the head of a dolphin, plunged into the body of a human, and ignited. Very painful death by asphyxiation. Your dolphins will be trained to do this and more.
Okay.
Music's incredible there.
Okay. His plan is to weaponize dolphins to control the Adriatic Sea for his war effort.
Am I correct that SeaQuest DSV is about the many uses of dolphins?
It pretty much is. Bob Ballard will show up at the end and be like, dolphins are also really good for helping cook.
I've killed 3 men with a dolphin.
And when did we in society decide dolphins are no longer weapons? Because we had fucking Magnum PI strapping bombs to it. I told you about that Wonder Woman episode with the same plot. This has weaponized dolphins.
Apparently they were a huge part of our campaign in Vietnam.
Well, okay, I looked that up. He's not right, but he's not wrong.
My dad rode one over there.
They used dolphins to search for mines and some stuff, but they didn't give them guns and say go kill the Viet Cong.
Dolphins also discovered the Bering Strait. To Shatner's point, maybe they could be helpful in a canal type situation. I believe dolphins also founded the New York Yankees.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that Vasco da Gama was a dolphin when he discovered Spain or whatever?
Yeah, why did people leave that out? It seems significant.
Seems
also
SEA.
To have first off, before even discovering anything, the motherfucker, he gave himself a name. That seems impressive. And that hat that he had.
Do you know what his voice was? Vasco da Gama.
New land. I shall bring this news back to my old continent.
Did you know the Merchant of Venice was also a dolphin? The whole pound of flesh was dolphin flesh.
Joan of Arc?
Yep, dolphin.
Yeah, and when they burned her, they just made candles. I think that's a whale.
I bet they have some blubber on dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I guess even a human you could make a candle out of if you needed to.
This is horrifying all of a sudden.
You ran out of candles.
Brian, have you made human beings into candles?
Not recently. Dolphins, though, yeah.
Oh, sure. We all do that. Anyway, Westphalen and Lansdowne, they're just as perplexed as we are about Tetzlaff's plan to weaponize dolphins, but they keep it mostly to themselves as they recognize this guy's a lunatic. After saying, "Bloodshed follows me like a wedding train," he stares right through his mustache at Westphalen and says, "This is not where I should be," and then kind of looks around weird.
That's true, though.
Snaps back to reality, and he says to his two captives, "If you don't help, you will be killed."
Do you think William Shatner's utterance of, "this is not where I should be," do you think that's the first thing that burrowed into Westphalen's head as she stood there next to what's his name?
Yeah, I think she realized that long, long ago.
Perhaps I should be back under the sea.
Down where it's wetter, it's always better under the sea. Lansdowne has a conscience. He may be a weird, pointy-headed, mullet-having freak, but he has a conscience. And he tells Tesloff that he doesn't think he can help him. But before anyone can respond, there's a giggle, a small child's giggle off in the distance, as well as a dolphin sound. And we see that this catches Tesloff's attention. He rushes over to a young boy who's at like a big swimming pool with a dolphin in it in the middle of this room.
Yeah, what's that?
It's supposed to be connected to the ocean, but it's just a swimming pool. And there's a dolphin in it.
There's just a dolphin. If there's a body of water, if they would have shown a bathtub in this show, you'd see a dolphin in it.
Tesloff manages to snatch the boy up before the boy can touch the dolphin. And then he begins to tug at his hair. Shatner's like pulling on this kid's hair real hard and running his fingers through it. And he refers to this kid as Caesar, his son. Or as I should appropriately say, my heir and my curse.
Yes, as people talked in 2018.
Which does upset Dr. Westphalen quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, she's appalled at this, at how he's treating his son. And basically, it turns out that this kid's autistic. They don't actually say that. I realized that was only in the show description.
Yeah, because I did not pick up on that.
I didn't either.
And they kind of hint in the show that he's just got trauma.
I believe they do say that he is mute in the show.
He only speaks when he's asleep.
Or in the presence of Darwin, maybe.
Well, that's a breakthrough, Brian.
Darwin can do it. I'm telling you. Why are we not figuring out what dolphins can do?
But apparently the whole reason that Tesloff has killed a bunch of people is because he's mad that his kid is autistic and unable to rule West Europe like he wants.
Typical parents.
Tesloff then continues talking about how he had this one dream where a dolphin is coming at him, bringing someone or something with him, which Tesloff refers to as, "It comes at me like a Camaro." What?
That's gotta be another Shatner thing.
Has to be.
So unnecessary.
Eventually, Westphalen breaks through and helps Caesar to reach down and touch the dolphin, and the young boy giggles and smiles, and then he says, and Tesloff leans down and goes, "Oh my God, did he talk? He only talks in his sleep." Westphalen says, "If you could understand your son, would that make a difference?" What Westphalen should have said is, "If you can understand your son, would you stop killing so many people?"
Like whole populations.
No, she doesn't say that. She just says, "Would that make a difference?" And he goes, "It would make all the difference in the world." Back on the SeaQuest, Captain Bridger receives a Zoom call from Dr. Westphalen, and she apologizes, saying, "I'm sorry, Nathan, I had no choice but to do this." And he goes, "What's wrong?" in his best grandpa voice. She walks off screen. Tesloff walks on screen and says, "Hello." And that's it, and it fades from there, and it's mysterious because the music is spooky. Later on, Bridger is talking to George's boss, Mr. Wilhelm, and he's on a Zoom call here, telling him all about how he agreed to allow Tesloff safe passage in exchange for Lansdowne and Westphalen's lives. But Wilhelm, who's actually Admiral Noyce of the UEO, is saying, "Who cares about your gentleman's agreement, Nathan? We're buds. This guy killed and harmed millions upon millions of people. Just renege on your word, turn him over to us." Nathan says, "I can't do it." And after Noyce asks him, "Let's back up. I know I'm a UEO admiral, but I'm going to ask you as a friend. What's going on, Nathan?" And Roy Scheider goes, "Well, I can't talk about it," and then hangs up on him.
This seems weird, like the way Nathan is acting about this whole thing.
Yeah, something is amiss. I think this is a case where there was yet another deleted scene where something was explained.
Yeah, there's a piece. It feels like he has a piece of information that we don't, to where he's like, "I know this is the right call," but nothing ever like explains that in the episode we see.
And it could be that he just has a good feeling, a gut feeling about this.
I have a good feeling about this genocide committer.
Bingo.
I don't like it when people, are into spherical evolution, but a few genocides.
A while later, Bridger joins Lucas, Joxer, and Ortiz in the dolphin room, and they explain how they have created a device that will take all of Darwin the dolphin movements and electrical charges and turn them into images. Bridger then calls them all little rascals, tussles their hair, and they all talk about how they keep having dreams about Darwin and how weird that is, and that's that. End of scene. Bridger's later reading something in his room, and he's told that Tesloff will be arriving soon, but there's a knock on his door. It's Commander Ford. He comes in and he voices his displeasure with Tesloff coming aboard the SeaQuest, and Ford then compares inviting Tesloff aboard to inviting the albatross from the Rime of the Ancient Mariner aboard, which, by the way, is not a good comparison because the whole thing with the albatross and the Rime of the Ancient Mariner is the mariner accidentally killed the bird, which brought problems upon him. If he would have invited the bird in, it would have been great.
I only know about this from a Decemberist song that covers this material.
We were forced to read it in a high school class I had, and I hated it so much. I'll never get over it because young me had to deal with it. Maybe I'd appreciate it now.
You'd appreciate it, but it's also written in that old English.
Yeah.
All that stuff's tedious.
Well, did you appreciate it getting brought up like 45 times in SeaQuest?
Yeah, it's an awfully heavy-handed reference to the albatross, too. Like, there's not much subtle about, well, this episode in particular, but perhaps SeaQuest as a whole.
Well, Bridger, to your point, Brian, says, Ford, before you go, there's one last thing. I was reading a book when you came in. Guess what? It's the fucking Rime of the Ancient Mariner. I got it right here.
Just a thing you do.
And he reads this thing from it, which basically says, God loves bad people. And that's the extent of it. Ford is hit pretty hard by all of this, likely because it's weird that Bridger would be reading that exact poem that he referenced, but also it's not that weird because they are in the sea. So I don't know. Do you have to read sea-themed things if you're in the ocean?
You make a good point. I think I'd want to.
Like anything you're doing, you kind of want to be read up on it beforehand and all of its the popular fiction about it even.
Yeah, that's like when I built, for example, that table or whatever, I was reading all the books about woodworking. Fiction, by the way.
Well, I've read every novel about podcasting there is.
Like the Bible, because Jesus was a carpenter.
He was a bad carpenter.
He was the first carpenter of all.
He fucking sucked at it.
In a way, when he would give his sermons on Mount, that is a podcast. You know, stand up there in front of people and talk.
So Jesus was the first podcaster?
Of course.
All right. Considering the ramifications of that revelation, I think we should take a break. SeaQuest's big gaping butthole opens up and a small submarine enters through it, and this is the arrival of our ragtag band of scientists and dictator and smarmy 80s guy and autistic kid. Chief Crocker tries to take Tesloff's gun when he walks aboard, but the man who has murdered millions is not afraid of the chubby security guy. He gives him a dirty look and says, I think not. But then he turns down and hands the gun to Bridger. Why is he making a big deal of this if he's just giving the gun up?
Yeah, that's rude to Crocker as far as I'm concerned. Let the man do his job.
I guess it's a show of respect to the captain aboard, right? Like, I will only turn it into your commanding officer.
Roy Scheider. If this were Kelsey Grammer in Down Periscope, would not give him my gun.
No, or if it was
probably drunk.
Kelsey Grammer in Money Plane, you wouldn't give him the gun.
That's in the sky, Brian, which is the
opposite
sea sky.
Sea, yeah. Mm-hmm. Reverse ocean.
Tesloff kind of looks around with his weird eyes, and he says, this is the place for my dreams. And then he just wanders away. This leaves Bridger to talk to Wes Phelan, who's holding Tesloff's kid, Caesar, whom she says will not talk because he experienced some sort of trauma.
Probably unending trauma with Shatner.
And his quote is, no human being could live as terrified as he is. And then you look at the kid, and he's just like, whatever. He's fine.
Yeah, he doesn't really care. With Shatner in these scenes, too, he's rambling on about dreams, and everyone else is always talking about dreams. And at first I was like, they should just be like, is it about a dolphin? And like preempt it now. But then I realized something else. No, I'm wrong, because Shatner's just rambling. You'd tune him out.
Yeah.
You wouldn't actually pay attention to what nonsense he's saying.
You'd have completely ignored him 10 minutes into meeting the guy.
The second he said Camaro.
Wes Phelan dumps this kid off somewhere, and now it's just her and Bridger. And he asks her, he clutches her in his arms. He says, are you okay? To which she says yes. But also there's something peculiar about all of this, with this being, I just brought a maniacal dictator aboard a military submarine to try and help him bond with his autistic kid using the healing power of a dolphin.
That is weird. That does seem a little different.
Tesloff has been set up in a nice little room. It was quite cozy, I thought. There's some books, chairs.
He is getting, I think, very friendly treatment, yeah.
Crocker's here with him alongside Bridger, and the security chief is putting an ankle bracelet on the dictator who says, "From one UEO prison to another." But Crocker says, "Well, we need to keep an eye on you at all times." And then when he's finished with the ankle bracelet, he gives Tesloff a little pat on the shoe as if to say, like, "Good job, buddy. Good luck."
Yeah, and it's also a little like once you're finished loading the truck and you pat the back so it can go.
Otherwise, it can't.
It wouldn't know.
So having given Tesloff a little pat, Crocker has left the scene, so it's just Bridger remaining in the room with Tesloff, and the latter asks the former if he's going to turn him over to the UEO. Bridger says, "No, not yet. I actually kind of like you for some reason." And then this launches Tesloff into a racist diatribe about how no multi-ethnic country could ever exist and has ever existed because hate, hate, hate.
Sometimes a very multi-ethnic country that's actually been built by a wide variety of people will actually forget that that's how that happened.
Canada.
Obviously.
Bridger does let him ramble for a bit before revealing that the reason he's so invested in this, Bridger that is that he wants Tesloff to explain the weird Darwin dreams everyone's having. Tesloff's response to this is, "Your dolphin has put things in my head."
That's my favorite line he says in the whole thing, and he looks so serious when he says it.
You know what it is? Ape.
These dolphins have been putting stuff in our heads these days.
Back in my day, no dolphins be coming this country at all.
I was on 4chan and they were telling me all about what dolphins have been doing.
I'm quite savvy at the internet, which is why I'm on 4chan. Isn't that like notoriously difficult to get through or whatever?
It is. It's ugly. It's ugly, and so are the people on it.
Yes, that is correct. It'd be on there fucking Tesloff. Spouting his nonsense.
What would his handle be?
Mustache Streams.
That's awesome. You could also just name Magnum PI that.
Captain Bridger's obviously worked up, considering he is a dictator who's killed a lot of people on his submarine, and also Joxer's here somewhere. So he's in the dolphin room by himself to think. Dr. Westphalen arrives, and the two start conversing. When Bridger reveals what's truly bothering him, he's mad that his love interest went to Malcolm Lansdowne's house in the first place.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a love triangle, and I gotta give him this. This is very unlike the kinds of love triangles you would see on comparable era television.
Well, the youngest person is this Malcolm Lansdowne guy, and what is he, 50, 45?
It's really impossible to tell what's going on with that guy age-wise because of so many unusual attributes.
Roy Scheider looks like, while filming Jaws, baked in the sun for a few years.
Yeah, he's been in the tanning bed. I'd imagine that's really what it was. Because around this time, actors were always tan.
And again, he has pulled his face so taut, so they're doing the plastic surgery. Whatever, have fun, Grandpa. Be my guest.
That sounds like a really cool insult, like one-liner burn.
Grandpa.
Yeah, fun, Grandpa.
I'm going to say that to Justin next time we bowl.
Yeah, just anything he's
like
going to do.
2 years older.
Yeah.
I like the idea, too, of a grandpa that's how they have fun. They get Botox.
I'm going to hit the tanning bed and then get Botox.
Have fun with your Botox, Grandpa.
Westphalen asks Bridger if it's a problem that she works with Lansdowne, and Bridger continues to be coy about it. When she suggests that maybe he's upset that she's possibly romantically linked to Lansdowne, he gets kind of huffy and says, "Well, he's crazy," which is right. That is an accurate statement.
And I'm upset by it, too.
Are they like an item officially, these two?
They eventually become one. It's on again, off again at this point.
So he's kind of worried that in their cool period that she'll latch on to some Malcolm Lansdowne.
That's right. Really climb on top of that mountain of Malcolm.
I like that Land is in his name, and that's where he is. And whereas Nathan Bridger's name is that because he's a bit of a bridge from land to sea as a human who comes from land, but is trying to master the sea.
What is wall and check? What's that? Why don't you do something with that, huh? Mr. Clever?
Well, sometimes the walls that lie between humans and their interactions need to be checked.
Jocks.
Well,
that's even the show. She accuses Bridger of being jealous, and he storms off upset. But later, they hook the dictator's kid up to a device and prepare to throw him in the water to swim with Darwin. Westphalen says this device is a neurological imaging system that she and Lansdowne have been working on in between bouts of pressing their sweaty bodies together. And Malcolm, he helps clarify by saying, yeah, exactly, this device, it's actually just a 41-channel electroencephalographic preamplifier. That's all. Westphalen continues to gush over how important this device is, explaining that it could prove that the dolphins can invade our dreams, a la Freddy Krueger, which is a weird goal to set out to confirm, but all right, it's science, why not?
When you take for granted that every single thing in this show's universe is dolphin-centered, it actually does make sense.
That is true. Darwin, speaking of the dolphin, he's getting pretty impatient, so he boops a beach ball out of the water, and at Caesar, the autistic kid, Darwin then says through his stupid voice machine, "Play, play," to which Tesloff wanders over and says, "It talks." Rather matter-of-factly, it was kind of weird. And then there's more pan flute and dolphin noises as Caesar is put into the water and allowed to swim alongside Darwin. Then, on the 41-channel electroencephalographic preamplifier, Dr. Westphalen points to some topographical graphs to say that Caesar, he's nice and calm and happy. See, look at this graph. Anyone could have told you if they looked at the kid, but no, they got to look at the graph to see that he's happy.
We have science that backs this up. Bob Ballard will tell us later.
No, he definitely will. But Lansdowne looks at the map thing here and he says, "I wouldn't let anyone drive a car after this," implying the kid's fucked up on fun.
What does that mean? Yeah, okay, is that what it means?
I think it's like he's drunk.
With Malcolm, I gotta tell you, like, he seems like one of those nice guys where you're like, I gotta look away because I don't know what the fuck he means.
Malcolm's looking at Caesar like, holy shit, this kid is wired on dolphin.
They call it D on the streets.
I don't think that's what they call D, Brian.
Oh, is that not what they mean?
That's a different thing.
Huh. Well, what if I... Well, okay.
Doug. They're all talking about the children's show Doug.
No wonder I like it.
And basically all of this thing that we're looking at is to show that the kid's happy with Darwin, the dolphin. Tesloff is ecstatic. He has tears in his eyes upon seeing his son experiencing so much joy, so he does what anyone would do in this situation, and while wearing slacks, dress shoes, a button-up shirt, and a sport coat, climbs right in that pool of water.
It looked to me like William Shatner just about didn't do it several times and then just kind of was like, fuck, I have to.
Yeah, and with that resignation, something else strange happens, which is when he commits to getting in the water, he does so very slowly and deliberately in a way that made me think, like, is he still doing? No, he's got his legs in, but he's still going.
Well, he could stop now. Just wet feet. Oh, no, he's in the pool.
No, he feels the need to touch the top of the dolphin.
I think this was a Shatner thing. I don't know what the script called for. Maybe later we see him in a swimsuit or whatever. Ugh. But...
Oh, Sports Illustrated Shatner edition.
It's him and Lansdowne.
He decides, I'm just getting in this water with my shoes on, and I don't like that. No, thank you.
Man of the 80s and 90s swimsuit edition. Joe Don Baker on the beaches of Maui.
Oh, my. Think you can take me? Go head on. Means his dick.
Is that what he meant?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I actually did not know that at the time. Emmett Walsh, look at him. In the sand, building a little sandcastle with his feet.
Tesloff scoops up Caesar under one arm. He clutches Darwin's fin with the other, and they are off to the dolphin races.
Well, they're really just off to the side of the screen. That's all we're going to see.
He says to no one in particular, he goes, in my dream, it was he who was carrying. And that's it. There's no more to that sentence. I had to go to captioning to see what the words were, because this doesn't make sense.
This really seems like one of those just nightmares where you're like doing a creative project and you get someone else involved and they just are so off base with what's going on. They're adding their own stuff that doesn't belong.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm wondering if anybody wrote any lines for William Shatner at all.
They just said have at it.
I'm thinking it's just open for him to do what he wants.
I don't know that he didn't come in and be like, the character I'm playing's name is Teslov, and I'm some sort of war criminal.
And Steven Spielberg is like, please leave me alone, William.
Yeah, I don't know. If you'll shut up, I'll let you do it.
Lansdowne's here, and he walks over to Bridger, and he says, look at me. I'm just like a crazy kid who has a crush on your medical officer. To which Bridger says, well, you're not allowed on my boat anymore, and I don't like you and stuff.
Go back to your Jimmy Buffett house.
It's a real Jimmy Buffett guy.
Actually,
that's a good call.
Yeah, it is 5 o'clock every day, every time with him.
I don't know if we see his feet, but he's probably wearing sandals or Crocs. One of the two.
What do you think his preferred beverage is, adult beverage?
Probably a margarita?
I think it might be.
Oh, okay.
Do you believe Island Time is something he ascribes to?
I'll tell you what he does. When he's hungry, goes and gets himself a cheeseburger. But where?
Well, it wouldn't be from just a regular kind of, whatever, this place is fine.
Paradise.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all the Jimmy Buffett I know.
Well, at some point, it's going to devolve into Buffett head, like that one time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
been a while for that.
Buffett head. What are they really called? Parrot heads?
Parrot heads.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to yell in the middle of the song, "Hey, Jimmy, where's the salt?" Did you know that?
No.
Yeah,
no, I didn't.
So, I don't know.
To put on the rim of the margarita,
Yeah.
I guess. Well, I guess Jimmy Buffett is now deceased.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Deceased.
He'd be pleased with that, I like to think.
I think he'd be
giving
us a thumbs up and eating a cheeseburger in hell.
If anybody deserved
Paradise, sorry.
to like one of those dump their ashes on a beach or whatever, it's Jimmy
him.
Buffett, right? Or pour them on the rim of a margarita.
Slurp them right down. Oh, this tastes awful.
Oh, it tastes like Jimmy.
Not all is well above the SeaQuest, guys, because there's up when you're on the SeaQuest, because you're in the sea.
Yeah, that's where Lansdowne is.
You go up.
Most of the time.
We get some stock footage of a bunch of Navy ships firing some artillery or something into the ocean, which was not good for dolphins, probably. And there's a CGI explosion going on underwater near the big submarine. And on board, Bridger and everyone look up as this explosion rocks the boat. Don't tip the boat over. Bridger rushes to the bridge, I guess, of the ship. And they already, because isn't that it? That's where you go to the bridge to command, like Captain Kirk would be there.
People say that in ship things.
Yes, the bridge.
Got to hold the bridge, I think. I don't think you want that going into enemy hands.
What do you do with portholes?
Seal them. You don't want a hole in the boat.
How do you spell C in this scenario?
Oh, good one.
That's the only one I got. I got to keep doing it.
Somehow it just continues to work.
Concern with all the explosions that it might affect the Gungan community down here?
No, they have that big bubble.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have the big boomas. It is not ouch time for the Gungans, Brian.
Oh, man. Boss NASA's safe.
Had to do it. That was probably way too loud.
No, just right.
Bridger's here. Admiral Noyce is on the line, and he reveals that Teslov's enemies have found out that he's there on the SeaQuest, and they are demanding his blood. When Bridger asks, well, how'd they find us? Noyce says, well, the communications superhighway has got lots of hitchhikers. And do you guys remember in the 90s when everyone called the internet the information superhighway?
I mean, this is one of those things I don't think any real people said, but like
news reports said
Yeah,
it.
because the internet was new and everybody was trying to be like, what do we call everything? And they were like, people surf the web on the internet, on the information highway. First off, those two things aren't even compatible. You don't surf on highways.
I do wonder where somebody decided it needed to be surfing the web.
Yeah, and that did not.
Why not a web-based pun? Why it'd be like spider up that web, or what else do you do to webs? Catch bugs.
I don't think anyone understood.
Catch bugs in the web.
I've been catching all sorts of web page bugs.
Man, I've been bugging online. I don't think anyone understood that the internet would be such an everything that you wouldn't talk about it like a specific, you would just always be it.
Right, yeah.
And that's like, think about it now, like, I think I might log online later.
I'm going to pull up my web browser.
I would casually like to maybe like a 10-year-old or a 14-year-old, but like, I think I'm going to check out the information superhighway here in a little bit.
I think I might go surf the web at that Angel's Internet Cafe.
Okay, Bridger, he wants the SeaQuest to dive. That way they'll be safer. The bombs won't be able to hit them. But Ortiz says, guess what? Somebody's jamming blah, blah, weird jargon. And Bridger goes, oh, you're right. Well, we can't do anything because of that.
And then they're all like, whew, I'm glad we wrapped that up so the episode can continue to go and we can't solve the problem yet.
Well, Lieutenant Commander Hitchcock, she's here and she's in a remote submarine, I guess. I don't know. She looks like she's in her own room. But she says, I'm outside of the sub and there's a wrecking ball here. And she goes, wait a minute. No. That's not a wrecking ball. That's a nuclear bomb.
Way worse.
How do you know that?
Also, I do hope she has her own room because they have a banana room.
Well, they have the banana room. That's why she has to bunk with Joxer.
And the bananas.
And the bananas.
They all three share bananas, Joxer, and her.
They're the only two that are trustworthy around the bananas. You get Crocker around a banana, you know what's going to happen? The banana's going to get eaten and he's going to slip on it.
Oh, yeah, he might shoot them all.
With Teslov dried off and now aboard the bridge, an Eastern European woman is now on the screen and she's yelling at them in an Eastern European language. And Joxer, he's the one translating. He knows more than one language.
Does he?
She's basically saying, for all these horrible crimes you've committed, Teslov, you're sentenced to death. Okay, yes, I agree. Joxer says, Bridger, hey, what do I say in response? Bridger goes, well, I need more time. She then responds with, okay, you got 12 hours. You got to give us Teslov in 12 hours, half a day. Bridger decides, okay, that's somewhat reasonable. How about we be belligerent instead? And he has Joxer respond with, no, this man here is under our protection. You will not have him. So she goes, okay, fine, 5 hours. That's all you got. And we're going to hit you with a wrecking ball bomb.
This again, like Bridger seems so different from 8 episodes ago.
I don't get it.
It's because he's upset about that thing with Malcolm Lansdowne.
Oh, yeah.
Lost his girl, too.
It's just a boner thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pink's his favorite color, and it's on his mind. Maybe it's gray by now.
Over time, yeah. It shifts.
This is horrible. I'm not being sexist. I think a man's penis can turn gray, too.
I'm sure Lansdowne's dick is entirely gray. Not just the hair. I think it's turning gray. It's falling off. It's dying.
Everyone just kind of decides, all right, whatever about all of this, because we find ourselves back in the dolphin room where Lansdowne, yes, Joxer's here too after translating. He's in like a wetsuit in the water. Lucas and Ortiz are also here, and they're all back working on the weird dolphin dream machine. Nothing happens in this scene, though, and I mean that. Absolutely nothing happens at all. They just talk about how they keep dreaming about Darwin, and then Lansdowne says, well, let me tell you what, if Darwin Dolphin puts an image on your device, I'd like to take a look at that.
That'd be a big deal if that happened. Just so, audience, did you hear me?
But oh yeah, lest we forget, there's a whole nuclear bomb on a rope floating in the ocean deal. And Joxer has once again put his regular uniform back on. He's on the bridge, and the Eastern European woman is telling them, you guys are running out of time. And Commander Ford leans over to Bridger and says, you know, we really should just turn Tesloff over. They're going to blow us up, destroy a bunch of the ocean.
And he's really a bad guy.
Why aren't we? Is there a reason we're not?
And Bridger's like, well, hold on. I made a deal. I'm a man of grandpa of my word. So Bridger orders the SeaQuest to submerge below 20,000 feet, which, as we know from that one thing, that's a lot. 20,000 feet under the sea.
Mm-hmm. Leagues. Well, that's leagues.
How much is a league?
Oh, it's a lot of feet, I bet.
2 or 3? Or like 10?
There's 2 in baseball.
How many Joxer feet are in a league?
Well, Joxer foot is smaller than a regular foot, right?
Has to be.
But it does have those like jester baubles on the end of it.
Or it's made out of squirrel guts.
Ew.
You remember?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Thanks, Salmonius.
Oh, man. That business idea never did get off the ground.
You don't know that? Maybe that's how Joxer made his fortune and made it on this boat.
That's true.
He's in this universe.
Yeah, Kevin Sorbo did endorse it.
The only problem with submerging that deep is they'll have to sound the deep submergence horn, which they do, and it horns for a bit. And then you also have to herd everyone in the middle of the sub. I don't know if the science is real, but it's something like there'll be more pressure, so we got to do stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. And if not, I'm fine with it. It seems like a good TV show thing to be like, oh, let's make it seem like something's happening.
The ship does submerge, and this causes it to like rock and bang around. And we see Lucas and Caesar, the kids, still in the dolphin room when the alert goes out that they will be flooding certain areas of the ship. This separates Lucas and Caesar, so the older boy yells for Darwin to keep the dictator's son safe while he gets help.
Darwin, who is a dolphin, who we've established is an idiot.
It's dumb as fuck. On the bridge, Lucas tells the captain that Caesar and Darwin are in the moon pool, which sounds cooler than dolphin room. And Bridger surmises that, oh, well, they might be in the floodable area, so I guess we can't submerge, so go up.
All of this is floodable. You are under the sea. at any point, flooding is a danger.
Let's go take our chances with the nuclear weapon on a stick. The good news, I guess, is that Caesar's fine. He's with Darwin, but in between scenes of him swimming and giggling like an idiot while whimsical music plays, we also see bombs blowing up all around the SeaQuest. This all gets worse as we find out Tesloff has escaped his secure quarters, and we watch a paunchy William Shatner just wipe out a SeaQuest guard with ease and steal his gun.
This is really funny. The idea of him escaping even is funny to me. Like, this guy, he is no physical threat. He just runs around monologuing everywhere. He doesn't answer questions.
It's a threat, just not the physical kind.
It's a threat if you might want to leave the room.
And be polite about it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you just leave. But here it's like, okay, I'll wait till he finishes. And then he doesn't.
And this is a case of an actor with very little physicality in his performance. Like, when he beats someone up, it is with the effort of like negative amounts of modern day Steven Seagal.
There are more scenes of chaos and explosions and an awful lot of Caesar giggling like a moron while looking at Darwin. And yes, I do admit that is not nice to say about a kid who is autistic, but this kid is not autistic. He's pretending to be, and he's an idiot.
And the show description
doesn't even say it's the case.
Yeah, I actually don't think so. I think the narrative here is that William Shatner has freaked his kid out so bad. The kid's like, I better not talk. Because if I talk, that opens the door for him saying more stuff.
He's going to kill another million people if I say the wrong thing.
Caesar moves on from giggling like an idiot to clicking his tongue like an idiot, but thankfully Tetzlaff has found him and he approaches his son. He looks out the little window where Darwin is there winking at both of them and he says, he understands you. And then he runs off to do whatever while his kid clicks and beeps and makes dolphin noises at the dolphin. Bridger and Ford arrive at the engine room, which we've just seen Tetzlaff enter, and they cautiously follow after the dictator, who steps out from behind a wall to point his gun at the captain and his commander, revealing he has new demands. He wants the dolphin, and he wants the vocoder, and he wants to do it to heal his son.
Someone should be like, again? This is all anyone ever wants.
I bet 80% of the episodes are someone trying to steal the dolphin and the vocoder.
Yeah, and eventually Bridger's just like, I know, dolphin and the vocoder. Because you either want to solve spherical evolution or make your son talk.
Bridger, though, he does not agree to this deal. He says, I'm sorry, no deal. I can't do it. I don't trust you, Tetzlaff. You've killed a bunch of people.
Very fair.
Yeah. I would think this is actually one of the historically least trustworthy people.
Tetzlaff is pretty annoyed by this, but he does say, it takes a strong man to kill, but an even stronger one to stop.
This is, again, sounds like Shatner nonsense because it takes nothing to kill. I mean, in the age of guns.
And then he hands the gun he has to Bridger, who then hands it to Ford behind him. But this does not convince Bridger. Bridger still says no deal. So Tetzlaff takes a different route. And he says, in the time you were searching for me, I could have rooted around in the ship and done things. Maybe something bad. And Bridger's like, no way, come on, you're bluffing. And at this, Tetzlaff decides it's time to do a little storytelling. So he's going to convince Bridger he means business by saying this.
I'm a direct descendant of Vlad the Impaler, king of Romania. They tell a story of an Arab messenger who came to the court. The messenger was asked to remove his turban. He refused. Vlad nailed the turban to his skull. Oh, yes. In the confusion, I found things. I need proof. All that is required in a bluff is some validation of what I'm claiming to be true. I can destroy your boat, Captain. And I will do so. Unless you make my son whole.
I wish you'd have ended with, and maybe I'm a Dracula.
Vlad the Impaler, he was the original Dracula, right?
I'm just saying, that might be a bluff, but might not be.
Shatner's having a blast with this. He's clutching the wall. There's like a keyboard, and his eyes are wild and crazy.
Again, looking around. He will not keep his head still.
Captain Bridger continues to refuse, and he says, no way. I can't do what you're asking. So Tetzlaff says, all right, fine then. Make your dolphin fix my kid. And Bridger, his response to this is, well, why don't you ask him yourself? Go talk to your dolphin yourself. On the bridge, chaos is breaking out as the Eastern European woman is demanding Tetzlaff now. But Commander Ford, he really steps up and he says, hey, Joxer, tell her a bunch of idioms that probably won't translate well. But also, our SeaQuest, guns are locked on to you, your Eastern European lady. So if you even so much as flinch, our military vehicle, we will interpret that as an attack and we'll shoot.
So aggressive.
This does just enough to buy some time for William Shatner to go talk to a dolphin.
And it lets Ted Raimi do that Russian accent on fake words a little more.
It's not bad.
No, it's good. I was actually kind of like, I kind of want to see him do this a little more.
Bridger leads Caesar and Tetzlaff into the dolphin room where he tells Tetzlaff, you're crazy and there's nothing you can do to fix your son. Your son doesn't need fixing. But with the explosion rocking the ship, Tetzlaff realizes this is all over. I've lost. Mr. Bridger, would you please allow me to spend time with my son alone, also with the dolphin? Bridger says, all right, and he heads back to the bridge. So alone with his boy and Darwin, Tetzlaff says to Darwin, my dear mammal, can you heal my son? And those are real words that William Shatner said out loud.
I put that in quotes so I would also remember that, because no one's ever said that.
My dear mammal. You can say that to your doctor. People are mammals.
You can say it to Katie if you wanted to.
I will. Do it right now. Wake her ass up. Can you heal my son? Leave me alone. Darwin finally relents, and he says to the evil man one word, follow, before he swims to the dolphin dream machine that the scientists were working on. The machine proves to be effective as the dolphin swims into it and projects an image of himself onto the screen, and it's that weird smoky steam thing like the professor was. It's not a screen, it's fog. It's like if Peter Frampton wanted to display an image of himself behind his speak guitar thing.
His vocoder, if you will.
His vocoder. Darwin's dream continues as the image of himself fades into a duck for some reason.
I don't know what you mean some reason. I think this all makes total sense.
I think you think the next one does, because the duck then fades into a skeleton wearing a suit.
This is the order of evolution, what man was.
Oh, so we went from dolphin to duck to skeleton.
Well, William Shatner first, right? Or no, it hasn't turned into him yet?
He's last.
I forget what order it all goes
After the skeleton, then William Shatner shows up, and he's like, with a real confused look on his face. And then I think it fades into a gun.
I think so.
I don't know what this one is. This might be a gun. It might be a cannon, for all I know.
Symbolism.
Then it fades into a pretty lady beckoning the viewer towards her with a little bit of a wave. Caesar lights right the fuck up. He's like, hell yeah, look at this broad. I wish he would have said that.
Look at this broad, I've come alive.
Or he speaks in Darwin's voice. Like that's how he learns to use his voices, by talking like Darwin does.
Damn.
William Shatner would quickly be like, okay, go back to being mute.
Make it stop.
Caesar lights right the fuck up when seeing this, while Tesla falls to his knees in wonder. Caesar yells out, Mama, Mama, as at the image, and it then fades right back into Darwin. So we're back to Dolphin View, who gives a knowing nod to the man who has killed more people than anyone in history. Except for maybe Genghis Khan. Jury's still out. Kong? Did I say Genghis Kong?
Yeah, well, Genghis Kong was actually, they don't include him in the modern games anymore because of what he was doing. You want to know why Cranky Kong's so cranky?
You know what happened to Trixie?
Yeah. Ugh. Well, Cranky's whole family died.
He was taken to be part of the tribe.
Yeah, he was a prisoner.
GK, Genghis Kong.
Steer clear or your life will end.
Now on his knees, looking up at his son, Tesloff has a tear in his mustache as young Caesar says to him, help! And he responds with, you talked. But by now, Bridger has come back, and Tesloff notices his arrival. He tells the captain that in his escape from his enemies, Caesar was cut off from his mother. Tesloff had to choose either her or his son, and he chose his son, sacrificing his wife. He apologizes to his son, asking for forgiveness, and Caesar just smiles at him, reaching out a comforting hand as if to say, it's okay, genocidal dad. It's okay.
Yeah, I think this is supposed to make the audience go, you know, this guy's not so bad. You know, it wasn't all, but then you remember that part.
Then you kill all those people.
Yeah, like just millions, presumably.
This act has calmed Tesloff's blackened heart, and he leads Caesar over to Bridger and asks him to take care of his son. He says, now I have the strength to save my son by turning myself in and making up for the loss of the boy's mother. I will go to my enemies above and surrender. A little later on, Commander Ford relays to the Eastern European woman that Tesloff is surrendering, and she says, oh, well, thank you. That's that. Done. Problem
this
solved.
This didn't have to be such a big deal.
In the snack room, you know, the submarine snack room, Lansdowne and Westphalen are getting some coffee and snacks, and literally there's like buckets of Cheetos behind them. This is snacks.
Yeah, well,
this is snacks.
This is snacks. I'm going to say that the next time I sit down with some snacks.
This is snacks.
What's that there? This is snacks.
Hey, what are you doing? Oh, this is snacks.
And if it's not food, it better be like some cool sidekick animal named that.
Oh, okay, like a kangaroo named Snacks.
Yeah, this is Snacks.
Like a little fox.
Oh, a fox named Snacks. Yeah. I like it. Not Swiper, like that asshole.
With an X. Not a CKS.
Yeah.
Aren't those like...
Probably.
What are those Chex Mix? I think there's a mix called Snacks, and it has like pretzel rods in it.
And there's also the Lay's Pringles ripoff Stacks as well.
Oh, yeah, and they're in the blue tubes.
Possibly a 2 X's on that, though.
Ooh, yeah, it turns out people like to use the X instead of a CKS, and I thought it was really just my idea.
You wouldn't do 3 X's on that, though, because you wouldn't want people to think that they're pornographic chips.
Or that's a fleshlight. It's a tube.
Oh, I hit chip.
You can make your own, I bet.
I'm sure you could,
Get something squishy and stick it in there and then fuck it.
Or I guess if you don't mind the salt and the abrasiveness, just keep the chips in there. You know,
somebody would be into
move them to the side. Yeah, somebody who's like a real chip fucker.
A real Tesla kind of guy would fuck some chips. Ooh, it's sour cream and onion.
Somebody looking for a good Cheeto leg.
Anyway, they're in the snack room, Westphalen and Lansdowne. And Lansdowne says, boy, I could use a nap. And Westphalen's like, what the fuck? After all this, you have to nap what? And I kind of agree with him. I'd need a nap.
I don't know. I just think that's a strange thing to say.
Well, sure.
I get that she's a little bit like, Malcolm, we need to have a talk.
I wish they would have Lansdowne say, my life is so perfect right now. I'm with the girl of my dreams at my little island home, you know, and I get to have cool science adventures. And clearly I'm right about a lot of things, and nothing would change that.
Here's the thing, Brian, because Westphalen scoffs at him and says, you know what? I'm never leaving this boat again. And he's like, what? Won't you come back to my sex island?
And that sucks because he just lost his girlfriend, man. But at least he gets to go back home to his island and have as much fun as he wants as a cool, lonely bachelor.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything tying him down.
No.
Well, here's the thing. Westphalen goes, I got a great idea. You know that dictator's kid we have? Why don't you take him? He's yours now. You need to take him to your island and show him dolphin stuff.
So no more sex with me, but
you've got a kid now who will take up all of your time.
The pep talk she gives him, like, you have all this charm, Malcolm. Now go easy to raise that kid.
Yeah, all of his speech knowledge is from a dolphin mirage.
And I do think he would be ready to be like, I'm not fucking doing this. Except then she leans in and legit kisses him on the mouth a couple of times.
All right, I'm going to raise the fuck out of that kid.
Or if it means that I'll get some of that sweet doctor pussy, I'll make sure this kid grows up to not be a dictator.
So he does. He commits to the next 18 years of raising this kid or whatever, which that could be it for Malcolm. I don't know that he's taking
might have
care of
already
himself.
Might have already been it.
Yeah.
I bet you he's dead now. Robert Ingalls, the producer.
I would think.
I hope he's alive. Let's get him on the show.
We'll call him up and be like, hey, do you remember when you acted in this dumb show?
No.
No, I did a lot of cocaine then, though. Later that night, Bridger can't sleep. So he puts on a purple robe over his button-up dress shirt, and he goes for some chocolate fucking pudding, like an old man would. Literally, he walks in the room, Westphalen's eating pudding, and he goes, is that chocolate pudding?
God, that looks good.
My favorite food.
That really is something he said, Spencer. That's right.
He gets really into it that she's eating that. He's like, that looks fucking amazing.
I should have grabbed it out of her hand and started eating it.
Pushed her down.
Like, not even use the spoon to
tongue in it.
And then he's got pudding all over his face, and he just starts screaming.
And he just walks out of the scene wiping his face. Doesn't even talk.
Robe.
Doesn't even talk to Dr. Westphalen at all.
Things have changed since you were last on the ship.
I'm feral now.
Everything is pudding centric. If it's not about dolphins, it's about pudding. On the SeaQuest DSV, and the V stands for pudding.
Did you say the V stands for pudding? It's the old English spelling. It's a silent V. Well, he does needle her. He talks to her about possibly dating Lansdowne, and they play a little coy for a bit. You can tell that she wants in his Jaws-funded pants, and he wants her there. But alas, their love will wait for another day. And it does happen, but not for a bit.
Good for him.
Meanwhile, Darwin has decided to go play with the Dolphin Dream Machine again, where he projects an image of Caesar swimming with him and grinning, all while Captain Bridger narrates that same line from the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and that's it. Done.
I think if someone just saw this outro of Ray Scheider reading the Rime of the Ancient Mariner while that boy giggles and there's a dolphin and stuff, like they'd be like, what is this show about?
Do you think it'd draw them in or scare them away?
I think they'd have to know.
Well, the answer is it scared them away because no one watched the show but me. I saw this and was like, hell yeah.
Fortunately, we saw the whole thing, so we know exactly what it's about.
Yeah, we know all about
question
this
at all
now.
Did you guys do the Citizen Kane thing, the Orson Welles thing, where you stood up and applauded very intensely at the end of this?
Of course.
I thought so. That's the only way to respond to something like this coming to a conclusion.
The dolphin's name was Rosebud, Spencer.
No, it wasn't. It was Darwin, it said.
Darwin! Well, this isn't it. It's not actually all the SeaQuest we're going to get, because you know why? Bob Ballard from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute is back. He's here again, and this week he's got some stuff to say about dolphins. He says, people from the Aqua Thought Foundation, which we talked about aquanauts, so is this a pun on that? It's pretty good.
It's like stuff under the ocean you might want to get with.
Oh, THOT, that kind of thought. Like a sexy crab.
Is that what that Shape of Water movie is about then?
It pretty much is.
That's the ultimate aqua thought.
Okay, you know what? That movie wasn't horrible, but a lot of it was super dumb. Like how she closes the door and it fills up with water in the bathroom in an old house. Fuck that.
I haven't seen that movie still.
It's not that great. It's okay, but
something about it just hasn't made me really thrilled to watch it, despite, the fact that there's
fish
monster sex,
Well, Bob Hole from Woods Ballard, whatever, he says Aqua Thought Foundation, these people say that close contact with dolphins seems to change human brainwave patterns, but more research is needed. That's his factoid
because there's not really been any.
And that's it. So I ask you gentlemen, before we move on, what do you think of SeaQuest?
Ooh, I don't know. This last one is not even fair because that got William Shatnered. Whatever they had in mind, whatever they had in mind for this episode, that happened. That's an interesting couple episodes. Those are some very unique plots. That's all I'll say.
Well, let me say this. It's a show that's simultaneously very paint by numbers and bizarre. In terms of a lot of it's standard boilerplate 90s show, and a lot of it's I don't even know what they were trying to do here. They're just shoving stuff together. And that makes for a show that was very fun to talk about, which I kind of knew watching it. I was like, if you write this down on paper, this doesn't make any sense.
And I did. I wrote it down on paper and said, wait a minute, is that what actually happened? And it turns out it was.
Did you have more than average notes on these two?
I had too many notes.
I thought
I tried to pare them down, and these episodes are going to be long.
They're so rambly, and then 45-minute episodes. I thought that might have been quite a bit of work.
Yeah, long episodes, lots of plot, and then on top of that, too many weird things not to mention.
Yeah, that was the problem, is if I cut this thing out, it messes up that plot thread. But if I cut this thing out, we're removing one of the best things to joke about. So there was a lot involved.
I think the production team should have told that to Ingalls, you can't be in this because that's too much shit to talk about if there's ever anything about this show recorded.
Okay, well, who was your favorite character of all of them?
Oh, boy. Of every character that we saw?
Of the two episodes, it's the Regulator for you. We know that.
Well,
maybe.
You know what? I'm going Crocker in a very weird move.
Okay.
I appreciate that little guy, whatever his name is, Applegate.
Royce D. Applegate.
Royce D. Applegate. I appreciate his work. Even when he's not talking, which is most of the time, he's just kind of, looking on like he doesn't approve. Good job.
So I did like Mars quite a bit, the serious security guy, the overqualified security guy who actually looks like he would be good at that. I liked him, but he wasn't in this one, right? He wasn't in our second one.
The first one.
So I can't pick him. I would actually say, despite the fact that I'm not sure 100% what her role was supposed to be, that Dr. Westphalen was a likable person.
Sure.
She had a general kind of gentleness to her and seemed to mean well. And she, I guess, was sort of a subject expert in her dolphin field, whatever she was doing.
I did find her very likable. There's only this one thing about her, which is did question her choice in romantic partners.
Yeah, that can be questioned. So no one's going to say Captain Bridger?
Nah, I don't think so.
I mean, he's up there, though. I
love the guy, but come on.
He acted very rashly in this episode.
He did lose some points by befriending a dictator.
So Chief Crocker and Dr. Westphalen were both removed after the first season. Crocker because the producers decided they wanted a younger cast, so they kicked him out.
Why would you move off him then?
Because he's so spry.
Yeah, he was probably on Maxim's Hottest Men or something.
I bet, though, if you look at troll years, he might have been pretty young because they live a couple hundred years. Or
kind of like dogs and stuff.
Sure.
You can't really pinpoint it.
It's a weird time frame. But then she was also removed. I don't remember. There was some controversy with it, but she was removed. The character who played Hitchcock, she was removed.
Who stayed?
Really, the only couple that survived after that were Bridger, Commander Ford, Joxer, and one more who I can't think of. But it was a complete shakeup, and they removed some of the best characters from it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if I have to pick my favorite, I'm going to go with this Lansdowne guy in the second episode because from the second he appeared, I was befuddled as to why he was there. And the things he did were just strange.
You'll never forget him.
Sitting right next to William Shatner. So that explains how weird he is.
I can't help but notice nobody's favorite character was Darwin.
No, because I got to tell you, I'm a sucker for animal characters, but they gave him the wrong voice, and they also wrote the character too stupid, as we talked about. Like, this dolphin didn't know its left from its right.
I bet Darwin's dumb for a dolphin. I bet, like, most dolphins are way smarter.
Yeah, this is a Darwin that's never going to come up with a theory of evolution.
He's the only idiot that showed up to talk to the vocoder. That's what you're saying. I will tell you why he didn't appeal. It's because it's not a real dolphin. That is actually an animatronic thing. And we would be, we saw the dolphin in the Magnum PI episode. That was a cute dolphin.
Yeah.
This one, not so much.
Yeah.
Sharp teeth.
Not a good enough dolphin.
That's going to do it for SeaQuest DSV. But we at the Bootu Boys often like to continue doing episodes of the Bootu Boys. And we are going to do that.
Except when we do Motion Picture Men.
Right. Yeah. It stops briefly every year now. For the 2 years we've done that.
There's that one time you led the episode off by saying there would be no more Bootu Boys at the end.
And Brian's like, oh, wait, well, hold on. Over the next 6 weeks, we will be doing something a little bit different, right, Brian? We're going to return to old shows we've already covered.
What?
We're each going to pick 2 shows that we have covered and do an episode from each one. This is just a revisit. Maybe Spencer's going to pick The Waltons. Maybe Brian is going to pick Melrose Place. That's actually a reasonable choice.
I did want to. Seemed like too much work.
You did a good job for both of us, actually. I'm tempted to do the Waltons.
See? Because you love to throw the Waltons at us. You're like, I'm going to pick another 2-hour holiday show. But either way, we're going to pick our old shows and one episode from it. We're going to do this in standard order, only one show at a time. Brian, you're up next week. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I figured there could be multiple reasons why I might want to revisit a show that I hosted in the past. Maybe I didn't feel like I did a good enough job, or
King of Queens.
Or like, I did an excellent job on that. Or we gave short shrift to the show, which may be King of Queens.
King of Queens, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe we just had a lot of fun with that particular show, the cast, or maybe even one particular character. That's why I'd like to ask both of you to forget belief systems, to forget the perimeters of rational thinking, as it is so smugly called. Feel, my friends, feel. Because Carr was in 2 Knight Rider episodes.
Oh, that's right. So we're going to check the other one out.
We are going to see Carr's origin story in Knight Rider Season 1, Episode 9, Trust Doesn't Rust.
And don't forget, because I remember this, the initial appearance of Carr.
Different voice.
He was a different voice, and he was less sure of himself.
But still a little bit.
I mean, a little bit. He was still maniacal, too.
Yeah.
But it was more a little like, oh, is this Carr doing it because he's evil, or is it doing it because it was told to?
So this is a return of a Hall of Famer.
That's true.
In essence. I'll go ahead and read the synopsis for this.
Can we agree real quickly that it should have been Trust Don't Rust, not
Absolutely.
Trust Doesn't Rust?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
2 small-time crooks steal and activate Kit's sociopathic predecessor, Carr, Knight Automated Roving Robot, and it goes on a rampage. That's the episode description.
That's basically what the last one was.
And why would we not want more of that?
This is a good one. I like this. Maybe Barth will show up again. Who knows?
I wish. I hope he's in that
Barth
car.
drives Carr. I think we presented that idea before.
It's the first thing we thought of. So yeah, we're going to be hopping back in Carr for the first time in a really long time.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. So join us next week for more Knight Rider. That'll be a great experience to jump back into Hasselhoff's pants. I think if you like us, you should go to patreon.com/Bootu Inc. You can check out that Aerosmith thing or whatever else is on there. It's free, or you can pay us. You can go to bootuinc.com where we have web thing on the interweb.
You can surf the net.
Information Superhighway.
That's right. It belongs and lives on the Information Superhighway. We're also on YouTube, social media, everywhere. So go check it out. Okay, you're Bob Ballard. Why am I talking with my hands so much? Spencer, you're Bob Ballard.
I'm Bob Ballard.
You're facing the camera. It's the end of a SeaQuest DSV episode. You can make it about whatever you want. What's your factoid?
Well, so little known fact.
Mm-hmm.
Mermaids are real. And as a matter of fact, they actually spherically evolved from dolphins.
Whoa.
Into mermaids, into a duck, into William Shatner. You know, you guys saw
so on and so forth. Yes.
You guys saw it I'm Bob Ballard, and you guys just saw this and it happened. So I'm just letting you know mermaids are real.
Okay.
I'm Bob Ballard.
You're Bob Ballard too.
Muppets are, it's like a man and a puppet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You don't want to like add a little more to it, or Bob Ballard's pretty flashy, Brian.
Oh yeah,
you heard Spencer's Bob Ballard.
Robert Ballard.
Voila.
I too, Van Lee, am not Van Lee. I am Bob Ballard.
I think we're all little Bob Ballard.
Inside, we're all little Bob Ballard, and I would like the listening audience out there to know that sardines are various species of fish. It's not like a one fish. It's fishes. It's different species, but they can them. And you can put them on pizza.
Those are in the sea.
That's not very good, but
so there isn't a sardine.
No, it's not. You can't be like, oh, look at that sardine over there. You can, but it could be a minnow. I don't know. Could be a perch. Could be a walleye.
I think we've learned a lot.
Keep naming fish. I know fish.
We've learned a lot from these Bob Ballards.
We could just name fish all day just for the halibut.